Say your name.
My name is Timothy Aiken.
Craig Johnson, Jr.
Hello, good evening, you guys. How's everybody doing?
Well,
Good, thank you.
So this evening I'm gonna spend some time talking to you about things that you can do with your diet and your lifestyle to drastically reduce your risk for heart disease and prevent osteoporosis. So you might be wondering, like, why should I know about this information? Like, how does this impact me in my life? Well, I think most of us want to have strong bones to be able to work, be productive, do the things we love to do, like play basketball or ride our bikes and do those great things. And when we have osteoporosis, it weakens our bones and hinders our ability to do those things and reap the benefits of those activities. And as heart disease is concerned, it's the leading cause of death in the United States, and every year almost 1 million people have their first heart attack. Now you can imagine how scary that must be if you or someone you love one day feeling perfectly fine, alright, and the next day being rushed to the hospital having had a heart attack. I think that's something that we would all rather avoid in our lives, right? And the really great news is that there's scientifically proven information on ways that you can drastically reduce your risk for heart disease and osteoporosis simply by using your diet and lifestyle alone. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about this evening. Now, I'll primarily focus on osteoporosis. I'll talk about some common misconceptions concerning dairy, calcium, and milk and how they relate to osteoporosis. Then I'll discuss blood pH and how that's so important to understand osteoporosis and why it's caused. And then I'll talk about treatment measures, mainly dietary and lifestyle things that you can do to reverse and prevent osteoporosis. And I will conclude with information that was discovered by Harvard Medical School researchers on ways that you can drastically reduce your risk for heart disease, and talk about how that information is consistent with information on how you can reduce your risk for osteoporosis. It was really exciting to see that congruity within both bodies of knowledge. Alright, so let's begin. The common conception in the American mainstream medical community is that if you want to have strong bones, it's good to drink lots of milk, eat lots of dairy, take lots of calcium. And the thing is, that's not scientifically proven to be so. If you look at some of the countries where people consume some of the lowest amounts of calcium, countries like Peru, Sri Lanka, and China, they actually have some of the lowest rates of hip fractures and osteoporosis. Whereas in countries where people consume some of the highest rates of calcium, countries like Scandinavian countries, Western Europe, and the United States, they actually have some of the highest rates of hip fractures. So that kind of makes you go, what's really going on with calcium? Is there more to the picture than just that? And the truth of the matter is in order to understand osteoporosis, it's really important to understand your blood and its pH. Now, your blood performs a lot of vital functions for your health and for your life, and in order to be able to do so, it has to exist within a certain range of pH. And that's a slightly basic level of 7.35 to 7.45. And that's kind of like your body temperature, how it has to exist within a certain range, and if it gets too high or too low, it's really dangerous for you. It's the same thing for your blood pH. And your blood pH changes all the time, and one of the main dietary reasons that affects your blood pH or makes it more acidic is the digestion of certain foods, particularly proteins. Now, proteins structurally are amino acids, and when it's metabolized, it creates metabolic waste products that are acidic. And your body has to remove those waste products, but in the meantime, if it causes your blood to become too acidic, your body has to regulate that to preserve your health in your life. And one way that it does that is by drawing calcium from your bones into your blood to mitigate that, because calcium is a very alkaline or basic element. And what happens over time is that people consume very acidic diets, their bones are being constantly depleted of calcium to mitigate the effect of the acidity of their blood, and that can lead to osteoporosis over time. And this is actually scientifically proven. There was a great study done in 2000 by researchers at University of California in San Francisco, and they were interested in seeing if there was a relationship between the dietary ratio of animal to vegetable protein and the rate of bone loss and hip fractures. And I have two charts here to demonstrate their findings. On the left, this is a representation of the intake of animal protein and the incidences of hip fractures.
Tilt it forward.
And as you can see, when people consumed more animal protein, they had higher rates of hip fractures. And this chart on the left is a demonstration of the ratio of vegetable to animal protein. And as you can see, if people consume more vegetable to animal protein, there's a drastic reduce in the risk of hip fractures. And I think that's really amazing information. And I'll quickly now just give you an overview of what your foods are and what foods and how they affect the pH of your blood. Dried fruit are some of the most basic foods that you can eat, the most alkaline. Those are raisins, cranberries. All fruits and vegetables are alkaline, some are more than others. Most nuts and seeds are mildly acidic. And all animal proteins, cheeses, and legumes are acidic. Those are high protein foods, as well as dried and hard cheeses are very acidic. And this was from a study done on how certain foods affect the acidity of your urine and the renal load. And I think it's really interesting to note that dried cheeses are some of the most acidic foods that you can eat. So does that mean that you can't ever eat animal protein or you can't eat cheese anymore? Absolutely not. That's not what it means at all. But it does mean that if you really want to have strong bones, it's important to balance your diet. Now, some people say a ratio of 80% basic food to 20% basic. Some say 60 to 40. It's really something where you do your best at it and you'll be really great. And one really easy way that you can balance your diet is to eat a salad or a vegetable with every meal. And as you saw previously, the greater the ratio of vegetable to animal, the lower your risk of heart disease, of osteoporosis. So the more vegetables that you can eat with every meal is really good for your health. As well as weight-bearing exercising, walking or the equivalent of walking for 30 minutes every day is really good for your health. And this is consistent with information done. It was an interactional trial done by Harvard Medical School researchers to see if they could create a low-risk group for heart disease. And they gave very specific dietary and lifestyle recommendations: 30 minutes a day of brisk walking, no smoking, low trans fat, high good fats, high vegetables. And what they found was that by people who complied with this diet were able to reduce the risk for heart disease by 82%. That's great. So in conclusion, I just want to encourage you to make really good choices. What you decide to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner has very big implications for your health. And the more vegetables you eat, the better it is for you. So choose wisely. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
No.